Hey, welcome to the June 18th, 2025 meeting of the Executive Committee. My name is Sandy McKee and I'm the chair of the committee. Tonight, we are joined by District Manager Jesus Perez. This meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. A reminder that New York State law requires committee members who are not here in person to have the cameras on and the first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, we actually don't have any, don't think, but you can raise your questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. No one in person, so let's skip that. CB6 Assistant Jerry Weinstein will take minutes this evening. And we will now take attendance by roll call. Jesus will conduct the roll call.
Good evening, everyone. When I call your name, please indicate that you are present. Neil Barkley is absent. Stu Desser. B. Disman might be delayed, or absent, we'll see. Jason Fromowitz.
Present.
Thank you. Justin Goldberg. I don't see. Rupal Kakad.
Here.
Thank you. John Keller.
Present.
Thank you. Anton Mellor.
Present.
Thank you. Sandy McKee.
Present.
Thank you. Alec Militic.
Present.
Thank you. Steve Perez.
Present.
Thank you. Gabriel Turzo.
Present.
Thank you. Jerry Weinstein.
Present.
Thank you. With 9 of 13 members duly present, you have quorum.
The agenda for tonight's meeting is reflected on the screen before you. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda. If you have an objection, please raise your hand. Seeing none, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes for the May 21st meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. There were 2 minor revisions, just deleting some text that shouldn't be there and correcting the spelling of Alec's name several times. But it was right once, but so, okay, if there are no objections, the minutes from the May 21st meeting are adopted. And they will soon be available on the CB6 website. Ground rules, please don't speak until granted the floor. If you have a question, you can raise your hand and I will identify you. If you aren't here in person, please raise your hand through Zoom. It's extremely important that only one person speak at a time, so that members of the public at home can understand what is being said. And please do not use the chat function for committee business. So, chair's report. I'll now deliver my chair's report. One thing, we had a meeting today with the charter revision people, and they're looking for additional testimony, specifically on the Euler criteria that's come up as part of the discussions. Gabe's already given testimony. It sounds like they're looking for more support if we can. So Jesus had the idea that we could add it to one of our email blasts and ask people to respond. It's a pretty in the weeds kind of topic, but we'll try and put together some speaking points. And the main thing that they're concerned about is that one of the things that the commission seems to be advocating for is to remove members' deference, which means that the council member can have the last say basically in a Euler application. And they're trying to speed up the timing of the applications. And they're also looking at restricting some of the scope of what comes to the community board. So all those things are fairly controversial.
Does this have anything to do with the casinos?
No, nothing.
They're just trying to speed this up because they're trying to pass the casino things.
It's unrelated.
Just had to make sure.
Have they had either former speakers, city councilors or mayors speak?
Yes. It sounds like it's been a pretty well attended situation. Do you want to say something?
Well, I was happy to speak against what I thought were the flaws in the plan, but like, I personally think council member deference is a real problem. and it's a real created the status quo. And I don't know if as a board, we should be giving out talking points in defense of Councilmember Daniels.
Yeah, because we haven't actually spoken about it, have we? Any of the, yeah. So we should put out talking points for things that we have done, if you don't mind putting that together so we can,
I'd be happy to.
yeah. No, we shouldn't support something we haven't discussed, so. That was, the people that we spoke to were from the city council, so they definitely had some opinions about it.
Another quick point. It seems like the arc of the whole thing is disempowering the city council, somebody taking the broader tack, looking at the balance between the two bodies, the mayor's office.
Well, that's really part of what the testimony that they sent, we were able to see the city council's testimony. And basically that's what they talked
So
about.
they're on it.
They're on it. And we just focused on, the ULURP. Because it's specifically gauged towards housing. And it seems to be that the commission feels that the ULURP is the current ULURP system is a detriment to building housing. So,
Yeah, okay, but you're really familiar with this. Could you just go a little bit into why you feel about that strongly enough? Because I'm interested, actually.
I mean, well, very briefly, it creates kind of perverse incentives for the larger system. If we defer to the local members, we will never build the housing we need in Eastern Queens, South Brooklyn, and the Bronx. And the housing crisis will never resolve itself if we don't build out there in the boroughs.
The assumption is they don't want more housing in those areas.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just
Elsewhere it is, yeah.
assumption based on their
We want housing for everyone.
current position of their electeds.
although to be fair, that hasn't always been the case. Like apparently Brad Lander was able to,
Gowanus.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's reliant on a member who wants to also,
Yeah,
anyway, it's,
so that's why.
Thanks, no, I appreciate it. Good speaking.
and I think we passed testimony about the changing the date of the election, right? That's one of the
Correct.
elections.
I decided not to tell everyone about it at the last meeting because we had a lot going on in that.
Is it even thing or?
Yeah, we've asked, I mean, there's a state issue that has to be resolved, but also a city issue. There's kind of a parallel path, but there is a movement to change. I mean, they've already done it in the rest of the state. It's just left out New York City, so.
The council stressed that it's their belief that the window for opining on the mayor's charter revision commission is closing fast. There are 2 more meetings scheduled on their website. One on Monday, the 23rd in Staten Island, and online, and one on July 7th in Harlem. And also online. They do not envision more meetings after that, which means that they think it'll go directly to the issuance of ballot initiatives. At which point the community board will no longer be legally permitted to opine on these things, because the community board can inform the public about ballot initiatives. It cannot take a position on ballot initiatives. And they were a little dismayed that the preliminary report that came out from the mayor's charter revision commission wasn't super explicit about what these ballot initiatives might be. For example, as far as community boards are concerned, it said something to the effect of, lots of people are saying that perhaps the community board review and the borough president review should be concurrent and not sequential. But it didn't necessarily say, this is something we will put forward as a ballot initiative. So it's kind of, it's not the most direct way to build talking points or testimony, but, we can read between the lines, I suppose. And we will, I guess what we will try as a board to do is, we do have a blast coming out on Friday. So Gabe, you can maybe throw something together really fast. If not, we can see for the next one.
Oh, I can.
But just to let them know that if people want to find, while it may be technical, it may have implications for the community voices in the public review land use ordinances. Something like that, so that it drives home why this is important to the average person.
Yeah,
Are they looking for feedback only on the Euler process or in general for the charter revision?
The council made it clear that they would like people to really go out and testify on Euler stuff. But I believe, the hearings are more expansive than that. If you have other issues, you can raise those as well.
Yeah.
it's like a 300-page report. It's pretty extensive.
Yeah, maybe half that, but it's not like 5.
It's not good reading, so.
But
But I believe any comments that, until July 11th or 7th, that's the only time we have.
Which is when you remember sponsors.
I really was just curious, but no particular.
Yeah, I mean, the budget committee went through them,
Okay.
both the city council and the mayor's report. There were just so many topics, and because the timing was so rushed, that was why we passed that resolution last month about the changing the election years. Because it seemed like something that would be easy, most people would be in favor of. The other topics are a little bit more controversial and would require more in-depth discussion, and so that's why we didn't kind of bring other resolutions to the floor.
Yeah, makes sense.
Other dates, July 11th it's Manhattan Hinge celebration at Sutton Place Park, and we've tried to have that as a social gathering other years, so if we could do that again, that would be great. I think we have a flyer for it that we can send out.
Post dated.
July 11th,
I think it rained last year.
I remember.
yeah.
I showed up.
Yeah.
It didn't really rain, it looked like it
Oh,
was.
yeah, it did actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple of things I wanted to discuss summer meetings because we don't actually have any summer meetings. Antoine, do we? We do have we have bulkheads.
We continue to get applications.
Okay.
Doesn't matter whether it's the summer or the winter.
And then the other issue is the casino is going to be decided this summer. The CAC is going to meet this summer, so any concerns or things that we want to submit, it's gotta be done soon. So we've been getting, I think, a fair number of people writing into the board. We've got a resolution already, but when the time comes, I think there may be the opportunity to speak in person. So when that comes up.
Sandy, question, what's do you copy that resolution we're working at? Is it just on track?
It's in the tracker. There are 2, actually.
Okay, cause I've had multiple people asking now where they say like, why hasn't the board ever, like, I can't believe about the casino, why hasn't the board even looked at this issue? And I'm like, not only have we discussed multiple times, like, we haven't really, so, I mean, I've heard a few people like.
Yeah.
Yell at me, actually.
Just send them the resume.
Okay.
Same old.
Yeah. And then FDR, Jesus and I did a walkthrough with CB11 last Friday. And it's one of those cases where it'd be great if we could work together with the community boards all along the river to try and get funding in the right places and get some action. It's in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
Further up, it's terrible.
It's in pretty bad shape to our district.
Yeah.
it's worse.
It's-
I know, that's.
It's worse if you, where you go north, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's one place where there's just a fence across it, you can't even go, so, we're trying to work out how we can, advocate together. We certainly have, the FDR proposal, like and it's really about reimagining the waterfront. They were receptive to some of the ideas, but it's the beginning of advocacy, so, that's just that. And we're having our next meeting with new members on June 30th. And over the summer, it's a good opportunity since we don't have any other meetings to address any concerns that we have as executive committee, anything that chairs want to have as additional information or things that we should be addressing. It's a good opportunity to do that. But we'll go through the list. I guess the other thing that we wanted to talk about specifically is the budget requests. We've got this new system in, excuse me, in place. And also the district needs statement, which we've been trying to get people to go through. I think almost everybody has done that, but it still needs a little bit of work. I don't know, Stephen, if you want to go through what we've been
So the,
talking about.
I mean, I think Jesus came up with a new process of how to get something on the list. So just follow that. I think you'll discuss that, I think, at your last executive meeting. But the two things I wanted to emphasize was just the timing. I mean, we've been kind of cajoling committees to talk about their budget need requests over the last few months, knowing that we were coming up to summer. The budget committee will hold our public hearing on September 30th. As a special meeting, because there is no October meeting that we can have that would be before full board. So we have to move our meeting to September 30th, which means that is the last day that you will have to submit any budget requests that we can then review and prioritize. So that's one thing to be aware of. The other thing is that, so yeah, there's a form now, click on the form. It should be, it's sort of the fields that are in the Airtable about if there are new requests. The other thing is that we did receive the comments from the agencies have been received regarding all of the budget requests. So to the extent that anyone, particularly during the summer, can go through those and see if there's an agency contact that you need to follow up with, please do that before September, because September is your only time with your committee to update any of the budget requests and send them to us. So for example, I think the Landed Use and Waterfront Committee has the Coastal Resiliency Project, which the response was, please take it off, denied. But however, please contact the agency. We'd love to discuss it. So
We have a meeting.
yeah, so great. That would be, something, again, if there's follow-up, you should be doing that now, because September is too late. That'll be your last chance before we have to get the ranked. The other thing that I was gonna say was regarding the calendar, well, not necessarily the calendar, but the other thing that we sort of instituted over the previous year was to be more precise about our budget requests. And so that's one thing that we've kind of winnowed down the list now. We have much fewer budget requests than we used to have, which is good. I think we've kind of consolidated and focused them a bit more than they used to be. But I would urge folks to also look at the way that you've, the language that you're using in your request to make it as precise as possible, because that, when our committee reviews those requests, we're not necessarily in the committee meetings, so we don't necessarily know the background of why the requests end up there. All we do is look at what's written, in terms of determining, how they should be ranked. So the extent that you can be more specific, the better. Sorry. One example I'll give, and only because it's the top request every year, is the housing committee saying we need more affordable housing. I mean, the request essentially says we need more affordable housing. Put yourself in the shoes of the agency that's supposed to respond to that. I don't understand how I would budget for that or whatsoever. And I fully appreciate the housing committee is working on the housing survey, and all of that is great. That is moving in the right direction, because we need to be more specific about what it is that we're asking for. I think that would generate a better response from the agencies. So I'm just throwing it out there as an example, but like every committee should sort of look at how they're phrasing their requests and make sure that makes sense, that it's specific as possible, and hopefully that generates, as it did this year, I think, better responses from the agencies. So and I don't know if any people have any other questions or.
I have it's a famous callback. How do we decide if something requires a budget request? This came up in transportation, and I mean, we often ask for things that require funding.
Yeah.
So how do we delineate what's a budget request and what's simply us asking for something that requires funding?
I think, so, yeah, I think it depends on the committee. If it's a budget, if you're asking for something with a specific budgetary allocation, I would say that's a budget request, you know? Some committees, I think that the issue came up with parks especially, where it was like somebody objected to the fact that they were writing resolutions for their budget requests. But like, parks is kind of one of those things where it's like I can't think of what they would pass other than asking for things that they need in the parks, which requires money, right? So it kind of makes sense that that would be both a budget request, maybe a resolution, but I would say, I don't know if there's any other guidance that we
What was
typically
the,
issue.
what was the particular?
So this was the bus stuff, with Spark, when we asked for, additional bus routes, and there was, there were some strong feelings, in the, on the board that this would necessitated a budget request, but we were sort of unable to articulate precisely why.
Why, yeah, because we asked for more bus service as kind of general.
Well, specifically serving Spark,
Yeah,
but yeah.
I'm not sure.
I mean, and there are capital requests and there are expense requests, so we are able to ask for things like that. I mean, this public safety and sanitation committee asked for more trash pickup as a budget request. That seems to fall within that same category. I mean, if it requires additional financial resources from the city, I would think, why not? Why wouldn't that be a budget request?
Jesus, you've got a,
That particular one, I'm not sure would be an optimal budget request. Because New York City Transit is not a city agency. And while in theory, you can put some, because we have the Second Avenue subway on our budget request, for example. But we don't really get a lot of traction on those. Given the type of request, I would probably have left that in, you know, a resolved clause of a reso as part of the larger Spark comment that you guys made. That's probably, you know, because otherwise it would be an expense request for the for New York City Transit MTA. You could put it on there. They can always just be like, no, this doesn't belong here, but it'll take you several months to hear that. So it's best to focus the budget requests on things that are very specifically city agency related, or as the name of the document suggests, that is a district need. The district really needs this thing. And you can articulate precisely why and what it is that it needs.
In that case, should we remove? We have it was added to the budget tracker, that bus. Should we take it off? And how do we do that?
what, did you fill out the
Quietly.
form?
Yes.
Okay, so then you can just retract the form.
If your committee is just like, hey, you know, everyone okay with this?
Okay.
We haven't really developed a formal process for how things come off. But at most committees, just like, anyone have a problem with taking this off?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think it'll be controversial, so.
And one other thing, like, the Parks Committee, and this is sort of another issue as well, the request for funding for tree grates was sent back to the committee. And they just voted on it again. They didn't change anything, they didn't do anything. So they re-voted on exactly the same thing, and, I guess, and didn't fill out the form. So it's one of those like in between, like, it came back to committee for a reason, and, I guess people forgot when it came back to committee, because there wasn't any discussion of it, and then also the form wasn't filled out. So there were two items that were, fell within that category, and Antoine's here representing Parks this evening. So I,
You know, this happened some weeks ago and we had some intervening issues,
yes,
so I'm not
you've
really up
purged that,
to it, but
yeah.
Yeah, we did vote on it again. I just don't remember offhand. I didn't have the chance this afternoon since I was called about an hour and a half ago to come here.
Yeah, yeah,
To go back to the videotape.
yeah. You know, so I mean, I guess it brings up the issue of if something is sent back to committee, I think that the assumption would be there'd be a discussion of it. Or there would be some revision because it probably won't pass again. You know, so, and I mean, that's a minor, it's not a big issue, but,
But you're talking about the resolution,
yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Not the budget request.
Well, they did a resolution and it was sent back to committee
Right.
and then,
By full board.
yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was that tree grate thing.
For
It was a
Sutton
couple
Place.
months ago. It was a while ago.
I remember it being on the agenda. I don't remember it getting sent back to committee.
The controversy was people said that it should not be a resolution, it should be a budget request.
And there was also discussion that actually the Parks Department doesn't install tree grades unless they work with a bid or some other larger institution. And that Sutton Place, who probably might be able to have funding rather than asking the Parks Department for that funding. And the same with the tree guards. It was a private school that requested them, and it seemed if you were gonna ask for them, you'd ask for it city, district-wide, or, you know, there would be a larger ask, but that was the concern.
Would it behoove us to sort of delineate some definitions of what properly constitutes, you know, one or the other?
I don't think that's one or the other.
Okay,
I mean, it's just, is it a budget request or not?
or if something requires a budget request or should be a budget request. Like, I don't know in the situation we were in, particularly with the bus lane. I mean, I felt a little flat-footed defending it because I didn't actually know what the guidelines were.
Would it be in the city charter defining what would constitute budget request according?
Probably. We'd need to find that.
Okay. All right,
But
I'll
I
just-
mean, I
I'll
think,
see what I can figure out.
I mean, I think Jesus's response is, yes, city agency typically. As, you know, that we can ask for monies to support something that's done by a city agency, because they're the ones who respond.
City agency discrete and discrete as intangible and pursuant to the statement of district needs.
Right.
Okay.
And something that you've actually spoken to the agency about.
Sorry to poke a hole in that, but,
Mm.
like if we ask for a bike lane or something of that nature, that we don't generally put in a budget request for that as well. Why not? That theoretically has capital costs.
I mean, it probably could go on a budget request.
I mean, yeah, I would say use the avenue that's gonna most get you to your goal, right? So if putting it on the budget request that we send to agencies is a helpful way to engage those agencies to meet their need, go ahead and do it. If it's better to just
Just
pass a
ask.
resolution and you have a dialogue separately, go ahead. It doesn't need to go, you know, but I would say that's why I said, I don't think we can make a rule that works for all the committees. Certain committees may have that relationship and may be able to pass resolutions that get them what they want. And others don't have that. The only thing we can do is put it on the
I
budget.
see.
So I would say do both, depends on your needs.
And I think it's important if it's on the budget request that you actually do engage with the agency to see, one, is it viable? And two, what are they doing about it next year after it's on the list?
Yeah, I know we have a number that haven't been followed up on, yes.
Yeah, so it seems like they're not that important.
Yeah.
Okay, that was sort of it, and I guess, committee meetings, parks, landmarks and cultural affairs, no meeting, right?
We probably will not have any meetings this summer.
Okay.
But don't we need the district manager report first?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I waved you. Jesus. Jesus will now give the district manager's report.
All right, a few things. August fifth is Tuesday, it's National Night Out. Community Board Six always participates in National Night Out at two locations because we have two precincts in the district and they're organized by the precinct community councils. 17th precinct and 13th precinct. They haven't released the locations, but they're almost always in the same places. The 17th is at Dan Hammarskjöld and the 13th is over in that little playground area at Second and 20th. So we will be in the coming days, not the next 2 days, because of Juneteenth, the office is actually closed tomorrow and Friday. But more than likely next week, we will send out an email to all board members asking them to volunteer for one of the shifts at one of these locations. Oftentimes members are not eager to volunteer, so if you've never done it before, we hope that you will. If you have done it before, you'll see that it's fun, and you'll do it again. But, yes, we're letting you know, and, we're hoping that, we'll have a response from the members, because we have a table there. You get to meet, people in the community and talk to them about how great CD6 is
And why they want to join.
answer their questions about city services. And we'll always have a staff member there to help you, so if you get some question that is like you're not familiar with. Somebody will be there, Brian or Brendan. I will be bouncing back and forth between all the sites, replenishing materials and things like that, so. But it's a nice opportunity to go out, meet the community. So I highly recommend people to sign up.
Can you confirm the date, August 5th?
It's August fifth,
Hi.
Tuesday, August fifth. Typically, it's like 5 to 8. But those details haven't been, like the time, place location haven't been confirmed yet, but we'll, we're trying to get everyone to save the date because it's coming up. August will be there in, 6 weeks. A bit of housekeeping. Okay, so this is not normally something we have to deal with a lot, but in light of the rather passionate response that we got from people at the last school board meeting, we started to get a lot of inquiries for the minutes of that meeting. So it's a good time to revisit what the rules and the law, there's actual law that governs how the minutes, when the minutes are supposed to be released. State law, the minutes are governed by the open meetings law, it's a state law. And it says that the meeting minutes have to be released for a meeting within 2 weeks of that meeting happening. And for executive sessions, which are very, very rare, special kinds of meetings, not executive committees, but executive sessions, those have to be done within a week. We almost never, it's been like 8 years since we've had an executive session, so those are very rare. So concern yourself with the normal meetings. Within 2 weeks, those meeting minutes have to be posted, even if as a draft, because obviously you guys are not going to meet within 2 weeks to adopt them as final minutes. Most people of the public don't ask for the minutes until way after the meeting has happened or never. But people are starting to ask for these, so we don't want to fall short of our legal duties, so we do need them. So that's one thing to know. That mostly concerns Justin because he's the secretary and he's in charge of the full board minutes, so.
I have a question.
Yes,
Yeah, so just to confirm, so the meeting was on the 11th, so it would need to be by the 25th.
a week from today. Need to post them now. As far as the inserts and all the stuff, the rezos, the attendance, the vote, that itemized vote count, which people are asking for. That we can add in, we always add that in minutes, but as far as like the text part, that we need to have sooner rather than later.
Are we talking about all committees?
All meetings.
I was gonna say, you may get requests for transportation
And
and for ball, because they were the two contracts.
so those meetings, yeah.
Do you
those-
have the minutes?
For the full board one, we need within 2, especially this one.
They've asked for full board. They haven't asked for the others yet,
I
but
think we have transportation, I just need to review them.
okay, because it's,
And while most of the time we're not gonna get this much interest in the minutes, it is good to, as chair, make sure that the person tasked in your committee with writing those minutes gets them in, because oftentimes it's the office that has to hound them and like But it's always good just to get them in, because sometimes we don't get them and then it goes months and months. We want to avoid that. So that's technically against the law.
Stu has his hand raised.
Stu has his hand raised, yes.
We post the video within 24 hours. Doesn't that qualify?
That does. There is a provision that says we can do that. However, this board has always said that they want minutes. And the public also don't know that. So if the public want minutes and we do minutes, we should then do the minutes within the time frame that the law gives us to do them.
Sorry, Stephen.
One more
I'll
question about that.
agree that's I'm sorry, go ahead. No, I was just I agree that it's a good practice, but you quoted the law and we are compliant with the law as long as we post the video.
We have offered people the video, but they want the minutes.
The question about the minutes, though, those aren't approved until the following month, so you're releasing unapproved minutes?
Yes, the law says that even if they have to be a draft, 2 weeks.
So we shouldn't be seeing minutes are still in preparation at any of the meetings that we hold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
Just to help you for those requests, those are two distinct things. We are editorializing, compressing, but YouTube now offers an instantaneous transcript as you're watching the video. So I would add that semicolon to any request. You want a transcript, you got a transcript. Minutes are forthcoming.
We do know how bad the transcript is. I mean, it's
Is it?
I had a,
very bad. Sorry, Alec had his hand up.
Jesus, you mentioned that people who are requesting to see the minutes also want to see the members of the board who voted for these resolutions.
Yeah.
They want a medical record.
Is the vote tally also tied into the minutes, or is that posted separately than the minutes?
Let me look today. At the end of every set of minutes is a copy of all the resolutions that were passed.
Okay.
Plus
how you
a
voted.
chart, every member of the board and how he or she voted on every single resolution. The freedom of information law requires that we keep those records and that we make them available.
Okay. So it's not just the meeting minutes, it's the totality of everything, even the resolutions and the vote tally and
Yeah.
the recording and.
It was being super technical. I guess you could consider the vote tally, the itemized vote chart as one thing and the minutes as another.
Okay.
But historically, we have put those things together, so we just consider it as part of the minutes.
Gotcha.
I would separate them out these days.
We
Well,
do separate out the election vote chart. It's historically, you guys have done that. But even still, freedom of information law says that record needs to be kept on file and provided to the public on post. So no votes that you take are secret.
Jason.
I propose we revisit the policy of requiring minutes and potentially just relying on the video, especially if we're looking at a 2-week timeframe. I think it's fairly arduous and I think the video's better than anything we're gonna put down on paper anyway.
Will that meet the letter of the law?
The law says that you can post an unabridged video in lieu of minutes. That's a relatively recent change. It came during the pandemic. It wasn't always like that. But historically, this board has always said CB6 does minutes, so we should do minutes.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Jason. I think with the 2-week deadline or 2-week timeline, all of us have jobs and, this is after work things. 2 weeks can be sometimes a bit tight of a timeline.
Particularly if you have 41 agenda items on your.
Yeah.
Your meeting.
The only thing about the minutes is that they have been extremely helpful for several issues that have come up. So, when you go back into the tracker, you'll notice that there are quite a few months that there were no minutes. So whoever is interested has to listen to a 3-hour meeting to extract their opinion of what happened in the meeting. So I think we should do minutes. I'm not sure, I agree 2 weeks seems a bit difficult. But I absolutely think we need minutes because they help to clarify issues.
Yeah, so it seems like this month there's been some expressed concern, so they want to review the minutes. Is this a matter of transparency or, like, I'm curious what the thought is about why the minutes need to be seen so quickly? Cause I understand transparency, I get that.
Yeah,
Being overly scrutinized on every little thing, I'm just trying to understand, like, why now, why wasn't this brought up 2 months ago?
Well,
do you know what?
there are two answers to that question. Why do people want to see these minutes when most people don't really care about seeing any other minutes? We'll have to ask those people. More than likely, though, it's because there were two very controversial topics on the agenda this past meeting. But why 2 weeks? Well, the state legislature says 2 weeks and it's written into the open meetings law. That's why 2 weeks.
Yeah, I understand that, saying the spirit, like, is the spirit of transparency or?
It's, the minutes can be as abstract as you want. There was a robust discussion of the
Yeah.
issue. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted more details, they can always go to
Go
the
to
YouTube
YouTube,
video, which is posted within 24 hours. In fact, it's posted literally the same night.
Live
I've
stream.
noticed you posted,
It used to be, it's a long story, but there was some weird technical glitch that now we have to post it manually. So, but yes, we always post it.
But it's live streamed too.
Yes.
yeah,
It used to be live streamed on YouTube,
Okay,
but now it's just streamed for those who actually sign on to Zoom.
okay.
And I guess, we probably, and I think Jesus can give you this, but we should probably list who spoke.
Yeah.
We have that. So that's, these people spoke about the issue and
Yeah, I wanna make
It
sure
was-
everybody that feels heard.
yeah, it was robust and that's it. That's all we need to say. We don't need to be.
And then, yeah.
I know we've been experimenting with the AI summaries on Zoom. Could those suffice as summaries
We
and
lost
minutes?
a lot of that capability. So, long story short, the VP's office switched us over to Zoom for Gov accounts, not like commercial Zoom. And that, because of some weird security issues, doesn't have a lot of the capabilities that the old Zoom have. Our YouTube, our live streaming to YouTube directly got disabled. We're still trying to fix that. So this,
The AI's gone.
there's like a weird summary, like a super quick summary, but like the AI companion that lets you ask questions. And like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
super good summaries, that's gone.
Got it.
Not like Teams or anything.
So yeah,
Get it.
I didn't realize that our work was so sensitive that it needed that level of security. So they took my signal away. I was texting residents.
not war plans.
I mean, I'm agnostic about whether or not we decide to keep or remove the minutes, but if the people who are requesting to see them are more concerned about the votes and who voted for what, I don't think that should really be tied into publication of the minutes. I think if they're just really curious to see the resolutions and who voted for what particular resolution went before the board, that I don't think should have any standing on to the minutes as they're published.
Well, the tricky part is that the law has always said 2 weeks. Most community boards do not meet that, as you know. And there's no like community board jail or anything to come and take you away for not posting them in its fast.
Don't bring up that.
Dear assembly member.
Is that a budget request or?
Yeah.
It's a new red.
No, so there's none of that. That said, as public bodies, as government agencies, we should try and always meet those requirements if that's what we do. And especially since people are a little bit up in arms about the topics that were there, we should not give them any more ammunition to find fault with us. So we should do what the law says we should do and submit those minutes. And we also can't really be like, well, what do you really want? Or why do you want it?
You just want the votes?
Yeah, so they
Sadly, we'll be finding out.
They come to us for with the law theme of public record, and if we have that record, if there's no good reason not to give it to them, we need to give it to them.
And I'm not sure everybody realizes that the votes are always there at the end of the minutes.
They're always there.
They're always there.
Attendance is
and
always there too,
attendance As well.
for better or worse for some.
And people do use that information,
I have seen it.
absolutely. So it's, yeah,
Or marked people.
yeah.
Yes, so, well, you're public officials.
What about?
Your public
Can
officials.
attach this to the minutes, you know, historical record.
Yes.
A
some
really
people-
good picture.
Some people have-
Of Jason in the article. Not so good.
I'll move on to the next point, unless there are more questions on this.
Oh, yeah, just really quickly, so, 2 weeks, how long do you need to compile everything else? Like, do you need, if I got it to you Tuesday, that would be okay?
Given that we knew people were looking for these, we started already, so our part is done. We're just waiting for
For my part.
for your text. and we
Okay.
have-
Okay.
And then if
And-
I need to review it,
Yes,
do I need to review
So,
it
yeah,
before
that
I
has to be-
draft? Cause I'm.
That's,
yeah, for this one,
Here
for this
until-
one, let's definitely do that especially, because I wanna make sure.
I won't be back in the States until the evening of the 20th. So,
The 25th,
yeah,
well, since it's just a draft, if you want, I can review them and then you can.
or I can get it to you by midnight.
We wanna post them on the morning of the 20th.
All right, cause I can't,
I'll get it to you by Tuesday evening, and then we can work on that, and, I'll send it to you, and just sometime the 25th, send it over, and we'll.
yeah,
All right, so that's that. And we also don't, I attended a hearing on Monday regarding community board support, they said, but there was a lot of community board bashing there. There are already some council members that think that we're sort of not doing what we're supposed to. We don't want to give them more ammunition on that. But casino, so the community codes, we put together a page. It's been there for like months and months and months. It's just that the process sort of went dormant. And let me actually share the screen here. The process sort of went dormant and we didn't get a lot of new information, so we stopped really talking about it. But under the resources page, under casino license awarding process, we have a page that sort of talks about what the process is, who does what, what are the various entities involved, how the decision is going to be made, and a draft timeline of milestones. There was a lot of information we still didn't have, but we reached out to the gaming commission and we just heard back like 5 o'clock today. So, although the office is gonna be closed in the next 2 days, I'm going to digest some of that information during that time and start putting it on here because people are interested. And the CACs will be forming in a matter of weeks. And they'll have at least 2 meetings, But we want to put this information out there because we have started receiving testimony from the public, even though technically the casino is not up for public review yet, because no application has been submitted yet. Applications are due at the end of the month on the 27th, I believe. So they will try and get them up and posted for the public to see as soon as they can after that. And then the CACs, the community advisory councils, will form. But this is still a work in progress, but over the next couple of days, I'm gonna add to it. But a lot of information is already there. And we know that people have this information, will want this information, so we wanted to be a source for that information that's sourced from, actual government sources. So it's there for people, right?
and, sorry, I had a question. Too. So the scope of work, that doesn't actually move forward unless their application is approved? Is that how the process works?
So they gave us some information about that, because what happens now with this environmental review? I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I will look at that and we will put information about that up there. So we anticipated what questions people would have. So we asked the gaming commission those questions. Because we don't want to be, people will come to us expecting us to know, and we don't want to be there with no answers to do.
So the 6 electeds who will appoint an individual to the CAC.
Yes.
when do those appointments have to be made by, and number two, will we know who those people are that they've appointed?
We did not ask them those questions. We have heard that some electeds are already finalizing decisions. Yeah, they have like another week or so to do that, week or two to do that. The gaming commission says that the acts will be formed immediately after the applications are submitted. So applications are due at the end of the month, so we have to envision that these CACs will be impaneled sometime in July.
But when do we find out, like, well, first of all, do we know who the electeds appointed, like the names of the people who have been
Not yet.
appointed to the CAC? Once they do appoint it, will we know the names?
We will at some point, because there will be public meetings and you will see them. Whether there will be like press releases and stuff like that announcing all these people, that we do not know. Whether they will have a website, or just live on the gaming commission's website, that we do not know.
And do we know how many meetings they'll have or any of the details of?
They have to have at least two.
At least two, only two.
At least two,
Okay.
which suggests to me they can have more, but they have to have at least two.
It's two for each proposed site?
Yes,
Okay.
every site, every application will get its own CAC. And if that CAC does not amass at least 2/3 of the members on the CAC for support, then the project dies and does not move on to the next stage. So the people who these folks appoint, at least 3 of them need to be like, no. If they want any chance of stopping this CM.
And they can appoint themselves.
Oh, they can.
Yeah.
Do they have to appoint somebody who lives within the district? Like the mayor, could he appoint somebody from Queens?
We have not seen sort of like any rules regarding who you can appoint or any of that. But I don't.
So they could appoint somebody from like Missouri, for all we know.
I don't wanna opine on that if I have not seen it. Maybe there are rules there, maybe there are not. I don't wanna speculate on something like that. But we do know that there are some electeds that are looking for people who are close by in the district and things like that. Okay, next, but information is there. We're putting more information there. We're going to try and get this information out to the public as soon as we have it. We're gonna put it in the newsletter, in our blast, so that no one can say, I never heard. As you're out-
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
As you're out in the community, talking to your neighbors, talking to your fellow Community District 6 residents, always plug the website, the newsletter, because that is how people will know. We don't expect everyone to come to every meeting, but we do want people to at the very least know, so that if there is something that will interest them, they can come and attend the meeting. And as I said, the office is closed tomorrow and it is closed on Friday, so it'll reopen on Monday. That's it.
Okay, now. Now we can go on, no parks, landmarks and cultural affairs, public safety and sanitation. Anything, Stu, you want to report? Or-
No, actually not. I'm anticipating September. I do kind of appreciate the budget, the district needs thing forces us to think about, I'm sorry, where we should look. But I have no specific plans for September right now.
Okay. Transportation.
I make one comment.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that, first we appreciate Stu and everybody from Public Safety and Sanitation helping to get that Link NYC out. But I wanted to mention about it, I mean, people have seen it, I'm sure, and I actually, I've been too busy the last 2 weeks to prepare one for this meeting, so I'll be emailing everybody, once I get it started. But what I wanted to say, was that we actually had a really good connection with the, I don't know if you saw this, but we were communicating with Intersection, who runs Link NYC. There was a few people that responded, when we were submitting it to them. And I looked a few of them up. One is like literally in charge of Link NYC for a community group, for community affairs, anything that has to do with government or, so those are just, you know, contacts that we should definitely keep in touch with. If we ever wanna, you know, as we continue using in the future beyond my resolution, I think those are good people to have as a contact.
Actually, it's great. I see it all over. So
Yeah.
it's good.
Jason said he saw it Upper East Side.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
seen a bunch.
It's
I've
outside-
seen a couple.
It's way outside of her, it's quite a bit outside of her district too, yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's great. Yeah. Okay. And we meant to bring it up at the Wednesday meeting.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, forget that. That doesn't happen. Transportation.
Yeah, no plan for a meeting over the summer. We're already sort of filling up for September, yeah.
We have another issue. I have an issue that I'd like to bring up with transportation. Health and environment.
So we're not meeting for the summer, but come September, last meeting, Brad Korn, MSBI people were there and they did offer to like help us out with a health fair to promote like not just overall, but especially the 14th Street, our urgent care center that opened up. So we will be working and looking into that. But other than that, come September, my goal between now and September is to try and meet all, or at least have a conversation with all the members and just kind of figure out what they think the priorities should be for Health and Environment Committee. And I'm sure we're about to get a few new members and maybe lose one or two. So yeah, I'm waiting for that sort of to settle before I get into that. Yeah, but no meetings over the summer.
And I guess too, like, there was a snafu with the survey, so.
Yeah, so there's supposed to be a survey for MSBI, like, how it has, like, the Beth Israel Hospital closing. How has it impacted people in the community, negatively or otherwise? Like, what has been the effect of it? But there's been some technical difficulties, with that, so we will have a new link to that survey that we can add to the newsletter and everything. And yeah, we're gonna try to figure out how to get responses to that survey.
I can't recall exactly when we passed the resolution, but has there been any update statewide from our nudge to provide more monies to Bellevue, given reallocation? Man.
No, but they did state that they have given the money to Bellevue. that they-
Yes, so whatever money MSBI was
Yeah.
supposed to give, they're saying they're on track to continue that, like everything is on schedule, is what they said.
Budget and governmental affairs.
We don't have any plans to meet this summer. First meeting will be the special meeting in September to review budget requests.
Okay. Housing and homelessness.
No planned meetings this summer. We will reconvene in September.
Youth and education.
No planned meetings this summer. We are meeting on next Tuesday with a presentation from someone from the National Network for Youth that on youth homelessness that I will connect with Alec. Good committee. I met with them on Zoom today. It's a pretty interesting group. So I told her the worst case is we all get to know what each other are up to. We might actually come up with something that is actionable by the board. So it should be fun.
Land use and waterfront.
No summer meeting planned. Some interesting things happening in September, I think, but when do we want those talking points by for the charter review?
ASAP.
Cause yeah,
Got it.
I mean, for it to be meaningful, if it's July 7th, we've got to do it by
There's a blast that we have going out on Monday. We were gonna send it out Monday morning, but we can send it out Monday afternoon or Monday evening.
I'll get it. I mean, it's not.
Oh, sorry.
I mean,
Friday, I'm sorry, Friday,
Oh, so Friday or Monday?
Friday.
no, that's not a problem. I mean, really,
If
there's,
it would help you for us to send it out on Monday, we can't send it out.
I'll get it over before then. I mean, really just like 3 or 4 points that people can build on in their own way, so.
Yeah, or just like an explanation of what this is and why it's important. And this is what CB6 is.
Okay.
I presume people can make their testimony via Zoom?
Yes.
Yeah,
And I
Just something to Sweden.
And either the Staten Island hearing on Monday or the Manhattan one on July seventh.
yeah, I would strongly encourage people not to go in person. What they said is a 2 or 3 minutes, but they give the elected officials all the time they want, and you're there for quite a long time, and the air conditioning is running on like a million. It was very uncomfortable.
All right, so yes. Business affairs and licensing.
Well, we're gonna have a meeting again this month. The agenda is filling up. I believe we won't be having a meeting in July and August because of timelines required by both DOT and the SLA for applicants.
Just a question, because the full board doesn't meet until September anyway, how does the vote for the items you have on the committee agendas play out?
Good question.
Because my thinking is that, well, if you guys are gonna meet in July and August, but we won't be able to vote on it as a full board until September, why not just meet late August?
And partly there's a timeline for the SLA.
Oh, I see, okay.
That I believe they still respond, they acknowledged the fact that it has passed our committee,
I see.
so.
DOT has, a 30-day timeline.
30 or 40 days, depending on the application. Those are much stricter.
I see. Okay,
So that does bring up a point that we have 8 new members. I've told them that they won't be assigned a committee until September, and I always try and talk to the chair of the committee that they want to be, a member of. We had one eager person willing to join Ball that we could put on the committee. If that would help. Yeah, because I think just to get core, okay. Any old or new business? No,
I
okay.
just want to say on the bulk, Jesus and you and I are working to continue to streamline our meetings because as we know, last time we had over 40 items on the agenda, took us nearly 4 hours to get through. And that was streamlined from the prior meeting. We'll keep trying it.
I mean, some boards separate out the DOT stuff and send it to transportation. Yeah, no.
But the issue is that the DOT stuff is tied into the SLA stuff,
Right,
so.
so, and definitely your committee is much more familiar with these restaurants than anybody else, so. Okay, but anyway, all right, so, no new or old business? All right, if there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. Seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 7:33.